Give me money, give me money, give me money, give me money, give me money.
Happy Pride Month. I thought I should get something out before the month ended, and I've been thinking about this topic a lot as I continue to write the softest gay romance ever in my spare time. So I want to talk about some tropes of modern, revolutionary LGBT representation in cartoons that I think need to die a grisly death along with the people who propagate it. Now before we begin, you'll probably see something you like doing in your work, and I'm going to reassure you that this is totally fine. But if this list adequately describes your work, then do not ever chat shit on Twitter about how much your LGBT fans matter to you, because that's a lie. Write these tropes if you must, but don't call yourself an ally for doing them. Understand? No? Great, let's go. First of all, if you're not actually willing to say words like girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, or wife in the context of a gay relationship, and would rather say something like, their relationship is complicated, or they have a special connection, then fuck right off. We're gonna be talking a lot about the bare minimum today, but this is probably the barest minimum of all. Too many times do LGBT characters avoid saying anything substantial about their relationships that straight people get to do, lest they make the sensitive little hetero bastards in the audience uncomfortable, and it's time we stop fretting over their feelings. If you can't meet standard, basic fucking nomenclature when talking about gay relationships, then you need to fuck right off. Steven Universe made a big deal about their gay wedding, but for some reason they couldn't bring themselves to actually say the one word you should be able to say at a wedding.
Then by the power vested in me by the state of Delmarva, I now pronounce you Garnet!
Just say wife. It's not hard. Just say wife. Too many times does LGBT rep have to come with all this cloak and dagger bullshit as if we're still required to hide until Tory scum are comfortable with us being around, which will be never. The fact that the word girlfriend seems to be too racy for television is such blatant and obvious homophobia that too many people just capitulate to. I've already talked at length about last minute hookups, so I won't retread that ground, but the unwillingness of so many people to use words like date, girlfriend, or wife is so blatant in its cowardice, and it won't be tolerated anymore. This should go without saying, but if you're introducing LGBT characters just to kill them off, then you ought to be beaten with heavy clubs and left bleeding in the moonlight. This should be obvious to anyone, but going out of your way to kill off your gay characters should immediately come with a homophobia brand, especially when they're one of the only ones to die. The reason for this is simple. You're implying that we're not allowed to have happy endings. We always have to meet our ends in some way, lest the audience think being like us is a good thing. I know I talk about cartoons, but this is a problem industry-wide. TV shows having gay women get shot, serial killers and crime shows targeting them. That one time Voltron introduced a gay character and then instantly killed them off. Hell, you want to stretch across the sea, Coronation Street decided to kill off a gay woman by burying her in rubble on her wedding day. That is so spiteful. I'm usually not one to go there, but whoever had this idea needs to be struck with something heavy. Fuck you, whichever frothingly homophobic asshole thought this was good storytelling. No, stop. I don't want to hear about how you totally think you can do it well. This is always the first response from straight writers when this criticism comes up. Oh, but I can do it good. How about you just don't? How about you write a gay couple that gets a happy ending? This is a hard conversation to have because it gets so frequently derailed by people in so many ways, such as insisting that we want gay people to be immortal. So let me make this clear. You don't need to kill off characters in every story. There are other ways to raise the stakes and create tension. Killing off characters is so often a writing shortcut to avoid writing any tangible connection to the reader, and the fact that it's always gay characters this is happening to lays bare the very obvious homophobia at play. There's a reason you chose them to die. There's a reason you decided that the character who dies will be gay. Much like the reclamation of the Q slur, you're trying to market something dehumanizing and homophobic as if it were a progressive leap forward. If you use asexual or non-binary people as an excuse to avoid writing anything substantial about a character while expecting praise for LGBT representation, then you are officially the fucking worst. Ace people and NBs deserve to have their own character arcs and stories, and not just exist to avoid having to contend with the existence of gay or binary trans people. So if you decide to make a character asexual because you're too chicken shit to actually put your money where your mouth is, especially when the actual execution of that story may as well be something like Moana that simply doesn't have a romantic subplot at all, you ought to be smacked repeatedly across the face with a very angry teddy bear. While I have you here, Ace and Arrow people, I love you, I really do. I'll defend you from exclusionists as much as possible and with admirable violent gusto, but can you stop claiming that the mere absence of a romantic subplot is ace and arrow rep, because setting that precedent is creating an opening for lazy opportunistic shits to do less than nothing and expect praise for it, and that's just bad for all of us. Please, I know being hungry for representation makes even the tiniest scraps look appealing, but you deserve better than this, and you should have better than this. You don't deserve to be weaponized by straight people as an excuse to not try. Same goes with my non-binary pals. When a show decides they're going to make a character non-binary because it's easier than unpacking the implications behind someone's actions, but then simultaneously decide not to actually say the word non-binary outside of Twitter, Q&As, and split-second flashes in Dove commercials, please remember that you deserve to have your experiences really explored and presented, and the fact that you're not currently getting it shouldn't mean that you lower your standards and latch onto the first table scraps you're thrown. You deserve to be represented properly and not just be some cis person's get-out-of-jail-free card. Speaking of lazy, non-committal people who ought to be tasered in the ass to the tune of living in the sunlight, if your world has humans in it, you're not allowed to limit the LGBT characters to aliens or classic horror monsters. I know that second one should probably go without saying, but bear with me here. First of all, we're coming back to that ever-present issue of creators looking for plausible deniability in case some inbred fuck on the Alabama state legislature starts shaking all three fists at them. Aliens who have vastly different gender and or sexual norms so as to go, well, of course they're gay. Aliens, am I right? This is a problem because, well, you tell me why having the only LGBT characters be from a literal alien race that isn't human in a story where humans are present is a bad idea. The implication, whether you realize it or not, is that LGBT people are not human, that they can only exist outside of human civilization. Sadly, however, this seems to be the appeal for some people, as a lot of LGBT creators are really into the idea of LGBT people being vampires and werewolves because they identify with being the outcast. First of all, vampires and werewolves are not outcasts, they're aristocrats and predators respectively. Second of all, it's never a good idea to fetishize your own oppression, because then you set some really ghoulish precedents. I get that your persecution complex is so bad that you don't want things to get better for you lest you lose that feeling of being hard done by, which is like cocaine for assholes, but there are other people in the world who actually want to make the world better and contribute to it. The LGBT people who fetishize being an outcast and continue to flood the world with gay, predatory bloodsuckers should be legally required to carry around a potted plant to replace the oxygen they use. This one is actually the reason we're here. I thought I'd open with some lighter ranting to take the edge off. Let's get down to brass tacks. Writing gay relationships is not fucking difficult. It's not rocket science. It's not some fucking puzzle that needs to be solved. Recently, The Loud House had an episode where Luna and Sam go on a date, which they actually called a date. Like, they actually used the word date. What a crazy notion, huh?
This is your first date, isn't it? You must be so nervous.
Nah, just stoked. I know Sam and I are gonna be perfect for each other.
They don't say girlfriend, but it's a first date, so it's understandable. For now. What follows is an absolutely adorable series of events where Luna and Sam realize they don't have a whole lot in common, but that they want to find new things they enjoy together.
I know we don't have a lot in common, but maybe we can discover new things we both like. You know, like together.
I'd really like that.
And there are so many little things that mean a lot put in here. The looks they give each other, the little smiles, the way supporting characters are happy for them. The whole thing is lovely, wholesome, and completely fucking flexes on every other lazy slapdash excuse for representation.
Silence! You don't know anything!
That's not fair, Beast. Don't take it out on Belle. It's not like she stole it.
The writer of this episode and the episodes that led up to it is Kevin Sullivan, and what stands out to me about him is that he was excited to do this. One of the setup episodes is his favorite of the episodes he's written. He's been on record saying that he felt awful about the fact that it took Sam so long to return. The guy really likes these two characters and likes writing for them and is excited to write them together. He doesn't do this to show the LGBT fans how important representation is to him, which remains the stated objective of nearly every slapdash poor excuse for representation we get these days, but because he actually wanted to do it. And that shows in the sense that it's so much more substantial than the usual canonization of a fan favorite pairing or taking two side characters who barely interact and saying, yeah, I guess so, that we normally get. This is direct, free of euphemisms, very well paced, and the most wholesome damn thing ever put on screen. And it's written by a straight guy. If I were Rebecca Sugar or Noelle Stevenson, I'd be fucking embarrassed that I got outclassed by a straight guy. That would be the kick in the ass I'd need to get my shit together and stop taking the piss. But let me make this clear. It's not some genuine writing talent that resulted in The Loud House doing laps around other shows in this regard. Kevin Sullivan is not an amazing writer. It's not an issue of talent. It's an issue of bothering to try. Writing gay relationships is the single easiest thing in the world to do, because we've been writing relationships, marriage, flirting, and dates for as long as we've been writing at all. And gay relationships are just those things, but with one person's gender flipped. You can write a fulfilling, enjoyable gay relationship without having to actually do any work. You just have to be bothered to get off your ass and do it. Noelle Stevenson said about the bare bones gay relationships in She-Ra, "That's enough representation for me." That's as far as she was willing to go, exactly where 1,000 other lazy hacks had already gone. Rebecca Sugar can't write anything substantial because she's so addicted to cloaking things in allegory and metaphor and not saying anything outright. Even when doing her gay wedding, which was so interwoven into a bunch of episodes that cutting it out was impossible without confusing a bunch of people, so it was going to air regardless of what they did, she still couldn't say the word wife. Ruby and Sapphire never once say "I love you" to each other in the entire series. This kind of obfuscation and needless complication isn't a mistake. It's impossible to do this accidentally. This kind of overcomplication of what should be something simple is done deliberately. Steven Universe and She-Ra and The Legend of Korra are just a few of many shows that have become obsessed with subverting expectations and prioritizing shock value over satisfying character arcs because the creator and a lot of the audience thinks that makes it smarter. This hyperfixation on making things epic and trying really hard to be another Avatar while also being unwilling to commit to anything is the reason the bar has been set so low. The Loud House didn't flex on everyone because of some secret hidden writing talent. It did so because everyone else was kneecapping themselves for no reason. The moment somebody decided to put in any amount of effort whatsoever, they nailed it. And people pushing for representation said, "This is exactly what we wanted." And to do that, the only thing they had to do was commit. They had to commit to the fact that a main character is bisexual. They had to commit to calling it a relationship. They had to put themselves in a situation where if someone pitched a shit fit, they couldn't backpedal to avoid controversy. The only thing Kevin Sullivan had that Sugar, Stevenson, Bryke, and whoever it was who made Voltron didn't was a fucking spine and a willingness to not shiv himself in the stomach for no reason. It's easy. If there's anything I want you to take from this video, it's that it's so fucking easy. In many cases, the work is already done for you. Things like this don't happen because it was difficult or because of weird negotiations. In fact, it recently came out that everyone from the crew to the executives was screaming at the creators of Voltron that doing the bury your gays trope was a bad idea, but they pushed ahead anyway. And this kind of shit happens for a reason. The creators want praise, but they don't want to have to commit to anything because they just don't fucking care. The Loud House isn't some revolutionary thing. It's the bare minimum. And the reason so many shows can't reach that bare minimum is because they don't want to. But they still want the praise and attention for being progressive, so they make non-committal gestures without saying anything substantial. And that's why so many of them can't even fucking say girlfriend, because that would actually be committing to something. And that's why the Loud House indirectly flexed on all of them, because the guy writing it was the only one not afraid of commitment, ironically.